Welcome to another edition of Chicago Crossing Model Railroad at the Bench. It's me, Eric, here with wiring, soldering irons, and all sorts of fun stuff as we get into the big project, which is the wiring and lighting of the Cassidy Tires warehouse. You know, that building may be sitting sort of in the back, but quite frankly, I want it to be just as good as a foreground building. And so there's a lot of different aspects to lighting up that building. And so, you know, I've done lit up buildings before, but I really wanted to take the time and just practice a few things and reestablish that type of activity in my mind before actually heading off to Uniroyal Tires here. And you know, it's simply because experience is a moving target. The last time that I worked on a lit up building was back in, it's last summer. That's when I did the CCMR at night project, which was basically to get the entire layout illuminated. Well, now that it is, the next step is to kind of up the game in terms of being able to work with new materials in a better way to really get this layout looking great in the night scene. You know, we live in an age of miracles and wonder, and I don't mean the long distance call. It's not quite Paul Simon, but rather it is the advent of these, the nano LED. You know, these things are amazing for lighting because in N scale, this is about the proper size of a small security light fixture or a large, you know, kind of light bulb or something like that. Which means you can place these around different parts of a building and they'll actually look reasonably prototypical as sources of light. And of course, with resistors and things like that, you can dim them in order to get them to exactly the sort of brightness that you want. They come in cool, you know, all sorts of colors. I mostly use cool white or warm white, depending on the building and the atmosphere that I want to create with it. But these things are amazing. And so what I wanted to do was basically to use a smaller building as a test bed for a few ideas I've had about how best to use these LEDs before I go off and, you know, drill holes in the thing over there. I might as well just drill holes in this thing over here because it's a lot smaller. It's a little less valuable, even though it actually sits in front of the other building. And, you know, from my perspective, it's just kind of a digestible bite-size project to take on within an afternoon. Welcome back, and I would call this a completed project. So anyway, a brief overview of what happened here. So basically this is a building where I installed a few different nano LEDs and then also just some bigger woodland scenics things for some of the interior lighting. So the nano LEDs are here up on the penthouse above the door, as well as over here. It's a little tougher to see, but you might be able to pick it out there. It's basically right above those 4 panes of glass on the loading dock. So let's take a look at the underside of the building. As you can see, it's a bit of a hornet's nest of wires and things like that. But, you know, I've done my best here to try to make this as professional as possible in terms of the overall quality of the wiring and how everything is put together in here. So over here, you saw me build out this polystyrene blanking. This is just solid black with nano LED up in the ceiling. That gives off a fairly dim or relatively dim blue light or bluish light. So it kind of looks like a lone fluorescent fixture way at the top of a disused part of the building, like a stairwell or something like that. And what you can also see is over here, the hole that I drilled into the penthouse floor. Actually drilled it from this way by taking off the ceiling and then ran wiring through. All of the nano LEDs, so both from the loading dock over here, as well as from the penthouse and also over here, are all bussed together. I basically soldered everything, all the positives and negatives together, so that it would make a single connection into this little wiring bus over here. Likewise, the other thing I did was to put in more of a white kind of wall color blanking around the door. The goal here is so that wiring doesn't enter the view of the door, because we do have some wiring that's kind of coming down. So that helps to minimize the potential for that wiring to be moving into view. All of the windows on the first floor in the front are blanked. The back has no windows. What this allows is for the viewer not to have to see wires. You can tell if these windows were left open, unless I was able to, kind of put in a fake wall here to shift things back, I'd have wiring pretty much all, as a bit of a mess in front of the windows, and that's really what I'm trying to avoid. So I've used a lot of Kapton tape to try to seal things down where, gluing it down doesn't make sense. And that just helps keep things a little bit out of the way and a little bit more professional grade. The other thing I've done here is I've actually placed in a pseudo ceiling for the second floor, and I've installed another LED that lights up the second floor windows more or less independently then of the one on the top of the ceiling. And there the goal is to avoid that look of a building with a single lamp in it, where you start to see the light diffuse and dim as you go down different levels. This way it looks more like levels 3 and levels 2 are independently lit. And then stuff like the stairwell, at night this building is largely unoccupied, and so I haven't bothered to install a further light there. I do actually have one more open port here, so this is always expandable. If I have other ideas as to adding additional lighting elsewhere, I can always go ahead and do that. And then lastly, everything pigtails basically to a quick release. This is just the Woodland Scenics quick release here, and that's what connects to the wiring and the layout. That way it's easy to remove this building. I never glue buildings down. That way I can always remove them to repair them, work on them, or simply remove them for filming other parts of the layout. So in general, it's definitely a nice wiring upgrade and a lighting upgrade, I think. So one area where probably I will use that expansion port is actually to light up the front of the doorway here. Once I figure out the signage situation for this door, then I will go ahead, put in a hole, and probably use that fourth port for that, as well as anything else that I see fit to do. But one thing you can tell with a building this small, as soon as you start doing these little wiring jobs, you really start to fill the thing up, and there ends up not being a whole bunch of space to be crowding out wires where you're not going to end up running afoul of windows and things like that. So that's sometimes where a little bit of a setback and a blanking wall can help, and while paying particular attention to what viewers of the layout are going to see. The back windows, there I don't think is any wiring that'll be visible there, but if I needed to, that's probably where I could kind of push some wiring in order to just make it a little bit less obtrusive. So with all that, let's go ahead and get this on the layout and see how it looks. Here is the building all plugged in and at night, and yeah, I'd have to say that's pretty successful. There's a lot of things I like about the way this looks. First off, you certainly can see that within these levels here, you do just have a very soft, cool white light. Likewise, you have bright lighting up on this second level, and then you have independent lighting, on the third level, and then independent lighting over on the second level that doesn't simply look as if it diffused down. And then you have, as I anticipated, just some, dim light maybe coming from another room over at the main entrance while the building is closed for, customer operations or things like that. And of course, the blanking of the windows is pretty much light-proof, so nothing shows up there, and I think that's all good. A couple things I love here. Number one, if I move the truck out of the way, you really can get a good look at that loading dock scene now. And so that's nice. The light helps to really draw attention over to that particular area. Just for this case, I've turned off the couple of street lights that are over there just so you can, really get an appreciation for how this looks. And then, of course, you have the penthouse light over here, which really just looks lovely. And, it's just kind of a bare light bulb. So, yeah, it shows up, somewhat brightly, but at the same time, it really nicely illuminates areas of the roof there. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty good look for this building. And it's great practice for some key principles that'll be important for lighting up the Cassidy Tires building. So with that, we'll finish up this video. Thanks again for tuning into the channel. And next time we'll actually get started on lighting up the Cassidy. Talk to you then.